Beautiful people, welcome in for, holy, can't believe I'm saying this, episode 20, another milestone of the Homie Love Hour with me, your host, Joe Buck. Now, today is one of many firsts. One, it's my first ever 20th episode of anything I've ever done. And then two, we have our first ever guest, who's also another podcaster. This is our first time ever interacting all the way from Texas?
Yeah, Austin, Texas.
Austin. Yeah, okay. Just making sure I wasn't too far off. Austin, Texas, the host of Plug Your Podcast.
Just be with Scottie G.
Yeah, Just Be with Scottie G. Love that. Today's guest, Mr. Scottie G himself.
That is an introduction. I don't know if I can live up to that grand introduction. Thank you so much. Thank
Hey,
you so much for having me. And I told you this before we started. I just appreciate you having me on and letting me run my trap for a little bit and have good conversation. I love good conversation. I love good coffee.
yeah, dude.
No plug, but like I sell these on my website. I feel
Just
like
just
wait,
keep
can
spinning.
Wait,
Just
can
keep
I can
spinning
I
the mug
quickly
around.
say I feel like I'm way over branded today? Like I didn't realize because I was like, okay, well, it's like, there's the Just Be like logo. And then I was like, well, I do have one of my like shirts on, and then I grabbed the mug and I was like, well, holy shit. It's like,
Just take off your sunglasses and write "Just Be" across your
yeah,
sunglasses.
it's like,
Yeah, it's like, oh man, what's all this? This is crazy how it all worked out.
yeah.
But you
Anyways,
know,
but thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I
dude,
appreciate it.
hey, thank you so much for being here. This has actually worked out perfectly. So I like to start every episode by asking, how's your week going? I know it's Friday, so guess it's more of how has your week been up until now?
I did this podcast with this guy one time. And when he told me this, I thought this was nuts at the time. And it's really a matter of perspective. But, anyways, he told me, he looks at every day the same. The way he approaches every day is the same. The way he gets up, the way he wants to be, and the way he does that. And we're on this like week schedule. Like most of us go like work Monday through Friday, and then we're off on the weekends and stuff like that. But I have the luxury of that I can approach every day the exact same. And so I feel like it really helps me solidify my week to make it better. So I feel like I don't have very many bad weeks. So you ask, like, how's my week going? It's going pretty good. And I get to do this. This is good. You know what I mean? I get to meet somebody new, bother somebody else with my questions. You know what I mean? My friends, my family, they're all tired of it. They're all tired of me asking questions. So I get to bother you with them.
No, I don't ever see it as bothering. It's like asking questions. I think it's a very interesting thing because it allows us to see the world differently and to see other people's perspectives and approaches to situations. I think it's the best way to become a well-rounded person is to see things from different perspectives and to interact with people from different walks of lives. Even if we never interact with that person or that kind of person again, I think it's worth it at least once.
It's what I call my serial killer theory.
Interesting name for that.
Are you interested?
Serial killers?
No, no, no. Are you interested in the serial killer theory?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
So the way I approach pretty much everything is like I already know what's inside my head. Like I know how I think, right? Where I really grow as a person is where I understand how other people think. And if you think about any serial killer movie, when the cops like trying to figure out like where he is, he's like, well, like what would he do? It's not what would the cop do, it's what would he do? And he puts himself in that guy's shoes trying to figure it out and understand to understand him. But ultimately, you don't want to kill anybody. That's not what I'm saying, but you
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
understand other people, and that's the way I approach it. That's why ask if you can ask the right questions in the right way, you can have great conversations with people all the time. It's a skill that you have to practice like anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very interesting because I feel like when you only talk to people who think or act or talk just like you end up in this weird echo chamber where it just reinforces the ideas that you have all the time instead of challenging the ideas that you have. And it stunts your growth, as a person because if you constantly believe, well, what I think is right and I'm always right, how do you ever go back and revisit that to be like, "Oh, actually, no, I'm not. Like, I need to reapproach this. I need to learn how to be a better person."
100%. I'm currently, I've been in therapy off and on for like over 20 years, and right now I'm in couples therapy with my girlfriend. I love. I won't say her name because I just don't. I just don't. I shouldn't probably say her name, but I love my therapist, and I think she's awesome, and she challenges me in a way that like I want to be challenged, like I would if I was like working out, right? And she has made me reevaluate things that like I thought like up until recently, thinking about my past and the person I was, I thought I was right up until this moment that I had this other realization that I was like, "Ooh, like I haven't been right about that." You know what I mean? And that I need to be better than that. That's like, I mean, that you should always be kind of sifting through your past to look and go like, did we all like again, like the serial killer, like did we overlook anything? Like, is there anything in these files that we did not see that might tell us something about what, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where when you're used to doing things a certain way, same thing where you're like, "This is right." And sometimes, even if a person asks you like, "Why do you do it that way?" It's like, "Well, this is the way I've always done it. Why would I ever change it?" And, like I spent a long time in the service industry working under older chefs. They were used to only doing things a certain way. And if you did it differently, even if it was more efficient or saved time and money, they were like, "No, I don't give a shit. Do it the way that I told you to do it." And it's like, "But why?" And they never really had an answer for that, which I always thought was very interesting, where it's like, it kind of reminds me of like when you were a kid and your parents would tell you to do something, and then you would ask them why, and then they would pause for a second and be like, "You're being disrespectful." It's like, wait, I'm not being disrespectful. I just genuinely want to know why. And it's like when you don't have that answer, like it's like your brain automatically reverts to, this is challenging me, so I'm gonna take it as disrespect. Like, don't do that.
You know, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm a newer dad. My daughter is going to be 5 soon, right?
Nice.
And, she asks a lot of whys, a whole whole lot of whys, right? And I try to answer every single one as appropriately as amount of information she needs at this point, but I don't ever not answer her question.
Mhm.
Sometimes I say, "I don't know." Like, sometimes I go, "I don't know either. Let's go, we got the internet, let's go look," or, something like that, right? And, I hope what it like, one thing that's happening is now she just asks everybody else a shit ton of questions, which is also, like, funny. But I think what I'm hoping is I'm building trust around, like, "Hey, I'm a person you can come to with stuff, and let's figure it out." Okay, because that's ultimately what life is about, is like the support system you have, the people you have around you, how we're connected. And I definitely want her and also my partner, my girlfriend, to be connected as well, right? So we work on that too, you know what I mean? And that stuff is work. It's not, and it takes a lot of patience and stuff. And so I really try to keep that in mind, when I'm with her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. I mean, congratulations on being a new father.
Dude,
And
it's crazy. I think I'm gonna be 50. I'm gonna be 50 and I have a 5-year-old. Like that's crazy.
man, I can't imagine how much coffee you're burning through right now.
Well, I mean, don't tell anybody, but it's not a lot. It's not a ton. I mean, it's like I mean, just some. I'm just kidding.
I mean, I don't know, fortunately, unfortunately, I don't have kids of my own, but I spend a lot of time with my nieces and nephews whenever I'm back home. And, on occasion, like I'll spend time with like my friends' kids. And it's the same thing where, like I don't ever want to like stunt or shut down a child's creativity or their desire to ask questions, because asking questions, again, I feel that's how we grow as people. And sometimes, you do reach that point where you're like, "Well, shit, I don't even know that answer." So now, like, I always hope that it sparks something in my brain where I'm like, "Well, now I want to learn about this too."
I
And
forgot. I forgot who quoted this, but it doesn't matter. It was basically like, we have information at our fingertips. Like, there's no excuse anymore to not educate yourself.
Mhm.
To stay uneducated is silly in this at this point in time. And I think it's so great because me and my daughter connect over things that like she's really into like lizards and like terrariums and like watching YouTube videos about lizards and terrariums. So we do that together. I mean, it's like it's awesome because like there's some kid that has and then she thinks about that of like, wow, that kid does that. Now when she goes, "Hey, Daddy, can I be a YouTube star or can I be a rock star?" I'm always like, "Well, you got to work really hard. You got to work really hard. A lot of people want to do that. You're going to work harder than ever. You're going to work harder than anybody you know. Like you're going to work really. But if you want to, I'm here to support that. But just know that it takes hard. It's going to take hard work. That's what that comes down to. You know what I mean? Can I also say real quick, kids are like boats. I mean, having your own boat is great. It's a lot of responsibility and you got to take care of it and stuff like that. But like other people's boats, just like going out on their boat and like having a good time on their boat, and you just leave when it's all over. You don't have to deal with any of that. That's amazing too.
Yeah.
It's like having nieces and nephews is amazing. Like and especially if like, hey, I'm not ready or want to have kids and like stuff like that. Like this was totally kind of unexpected, man. My life took a turn that I didn't know was going to happen to end up here.
Yeah, but I mean, it seems like that turn has helped you grow as a person and to help you evolve into the person that, you I wouldn't necessarily say have to be, but the person that you may have needed to be for yourself. And now you get to be that person for yourself, for your partner, and now for your child as well.
My worst moment in my life was my biggest blessing. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like I
absolutely.
like okay, I want you like okay. I don't know if I've ever told this story fully. So can I tell like the full story?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, you could always edit it.
Nah, you're
Anyways,
good. Tell the story.
so I get married, okay? And my ex-wife, spoiler alert, my ex-wife, her job that she had at the time allowed me to have a surgery that that I could have children. Like I wasn't able to have children in those surgeries, so I could have children, or to confirm that I could and stuff like that, right? So a year and a half later, we're divorced. I get this surgery. The year and a half later, we're divorced. And there's only one person in my life, like in all the girls I dated and everything I'd done, that was just different. Just totally. I mean, I was just like real weird different, like just stands out in my mind. I never forgot. And this girl is like impossible to find. She's not on the internet. She has no social media. She's impossible to find. So I start like cyber stalking everything I can possibly find. And I get to her, I get to her LinkedIn resume, and her phone number's up there. And I was like, well, maybe it's the same one. Cause I wanted to find out like why that didn't work. Like everybody else, I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like I'm part of the problem, blah, blah, blah. But why was this one so different? And why is it sticking with me different? Right. So we reconnect. Okay. And she was dating somebody and still living in his house and needed to get out of there. My ex-wife had just moved out. And I was like, well, I ain't do nothing. You want to move in? So she just moved in. Right. Now we had known each other in 2006. Right. And then this is now like 2016, 17, 18, around that time. Right.
Mhm.
So 10 years had gone by and I really didn't know much about her, but we were friends. We really got along really well when we dated. Right. So we reconnect. She moves in, and then we have my daughter. I have my daughter at 46 years old, 40, 44, 46, somewhere around there, right? And it's been the greatest relationship. I mean, it's where I was supposed to be. And none of that would be possible without my ex-wife. I mean, it'd be
Yeah,
possible,
yeah.
but she actually made it possible. And so I have said, like, in this weird way, I have so much gratitude to this event that, not all of our relationship was bad, but like it didn't go the way obviously we wanted to. But now I have this different way I look at that part of my life. And that gives me a lot of gratitude about what I have now. And when I see my daughter, I think about it sometimes. I think, wow, like you are here because of what I went through and did that you'll never even maybe she'll never even know about. Maybe she'll never even ask about, you know?
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a ramble, but I appreciate you letting me share. Thank you.
No, that wasn't a ramble. I mean, like, it's very interesting. Like, I think I've talked about it on here is like how I ended up here. Like, I was with this girl, thought, I was going to marry her. I was young, impetuous, and thought like, this was the first and last person for me. Like, this is it. And, when we split, I took it really, really bad. So, I kind of did the equivalent of, giving myself bangs or cutting my hair. I shaved my head and moved to Alaska. And
Wow, hey, that's more Britney Spears, my man. That's
yeah,
like
I
that's not just like,
definitely,
"Hey, I cut my bangs." That's like full on like
yeah.
umbrella coming to Alaska.
Oh yeah. I moved to Alaska, didn't know anybody, didn't know anything. And I told myself I was going to take the summer, work this job, and then I would go back to school and go back to my normal life. And that was almost 12 years ago. Yeah. And, I remember during that time, I had two roommates. They were a couple. They were fighting a lot. And I remember the girlfriend would call me and be like, "Hey, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? When are you coming back?" And I remember the last time we talked, she was like, "When are you coming back?" And I was like, I'm not." And she's like, "Wait, what do you mean?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm not coming back. Like, I can't do it. I just don't want to." And, it led to this almost existential crisis for me where I was like, what do I do next? Where do I go? Where do I see myself? And the truth was, like, I didn't know. I was just like, I'm just going to wing it. And I knew I always wanted to move to Colorado, since elementary school. And it's one of those things where it just so happened I met a person who knew a person who introduced me to this guy. Turns out he was like the executive chef for this really high end restaurant in Aspen. And I was super gung ho, got the job offer. I was really stoked. And then they were like, "Hey, by the way, you can't have a beard. Your mustache can't be longer than a quarter of an inch. It can't go past your upper lip." And it was like all these rules. And I was like, started to get cold feet. And then I saw how much it was going to cost me to move into housing. And I was like, no. I was like, but I still want to move to Colorado. So I ended up finding another job, worked for another resort, another company. And like, it's sometimes like we realize like where we want to be, but we don't know how we're going to get there. And oftentimes in life, we go through terrible situations, but we don't always realize what that terrible situation is preparing us for. And sometimes to get to where we want to be or to get what we want, we have to give up other things. And, I remember after all the things that I had done, all the places I was able to go, that same ex girlfriend reached out to me and, she's like, "Oh, like, what are you doing now? Where do you live? Blah, blah, blah." And we kind of like reconnected, and out of nowhere one day she was just like, "Hey, like I want to apologize for, everything the way it ended, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Hey, it's fine." And she was like, "Why are you taking this so well?" And I had to tell her, I was like, "Honestly, if you would not have broken my heart and, the relationship wouldn't have ended, I know for a fact I would have never had the heart to end it and we would have stayed together forever. Best case scenario, we would have ended up divorcing. Worst case scenario, we would have stayed together, had children, and just been unhappy." But I was like, I knew that we were not on the same page on a lot of things, but I was so scared to risk the chance of the relationship not working out that I never voiced my concerns. I just put everything to the side for the sake of making it work because I wanted her in my life that bad. So if she would have never broken up with me, I would have never moved to Alaska. I would have never come to Colorado. I would have never done any of the things that I wanted to do with my life. And a really big, I guess, divisive thing in our relationship was she never wanted to travel. Like, I'd be like, "Oh, let's go to Orlando." No. well, let's go here. No, everything was like, no. And, like I've always wanted to go other places, see other things. So, it was one of those things where through all those horrible situations and, through all the heartache and all that stuff, it got me to where I wanted to be. So, as upset as I was at that time, now that I've grown and like worked through those problems, I'm grateful that it happened, and it's allowed me to again have a different perspective on things, but to also like realize like sometimes you're doing your best and sometimes you got to call it if it doesn't feel right, and at the time you might not fully understand, but it's just kind of how it is sometimes. And like sometimes people get hurt, sometimes you're the one who gets hurt, but at the end of the day, like you always hope that you're going to come out of the situation a better person.
I mean, I think there's a lot of people that can relate to that story. You know what I mean? I think that's the story of a lot of people, you know? You can replace the characters and the things, but that story, you know what I mean? Because it's hard. It's hard to define someone else's feelings for you, you know what I mean? And what that means to them, because it's a feeling. It's not necessarily, something that's like, you can mathematically calculate.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like it's crazy how the amount of exes, which there are not a lot, but the amount of them that have reached out to me over the past few years to be like, "Hey, I just this certain situation has really been bothering me, so I just want to say I'm sorry." Like I had a girl, we only went on one date, never went anywhere. This was like 15 years ago. Reached out to me out of the blue and she was like, "Hey, I just want to say thank you for the way you treated me, like, when we were getting to know each other." And she's just like, "I still think about you every day, and I'm sorry I never put the proper effort into giving us a chance." And I was like, "Hey, I appreciate that, but also like, how did you find me on LinkedIn?" I was like, "It's not even under my name." It's like, so like this, dude, no, I
I'm
don't keep
kidding.
my phone number, but it was just one of those crazy situations where it's like, you get a message every so often, you're kinda like, "Did not know that person knew how to contact me." It's
Okay, really quickly though, I have a
yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah.
What was your experience on the other end of that date? Why did it not work out for you on your end?
I think we were just, like, on 2 very different pages. Like,
Where'd y'all go on a date to? Where'd y'all go?
where did we go? I remember so at the time, I was, like, heavily involved in the hardcore scene.
Like rock?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So I remember it's a very old-fashioned sentence. We met or we added each other on MySpace.
Oh, what year
Uh,
is this? What years?
this
Said 15 years?
this a little bit longer than that now.
Wow, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
MySpace,
yeah.
keep going.
MySpace, we meet, we had mutual friends, we were going to the same show. I think we had just it was like the transition from MySpace into Facebook. So we meet, hang out a few times, and we're like, "Hey, this show is coming up. I really want to go." And she's like, "Cool, I really want to go." So we went to the show. It was some of our friends were opening, you know, went really well. And then I remember the after show ritual was like we always went to Sonic. And so we went to Sonic, hung out with all the bands, everything was cool. And then after that, kind of fizzled out where, you know, you kind of see and feel it where it's like, you go from like texting all day every day, calling all day every day, and then it's like once every 2 or 3 days, and then once every 3 or 5 days, and then once a week, and then, you're kind of witnessing it fizzle out. And basically from there, she was like, oh, she had like a bunch of stuff going on in her life, and it's a very tumultuous time for her. So, I think the last thing she was thinking about at that time was getting into a serious relationship. And I think for her, there was also a lot of familial pressure. She's of a different ethnicity. So her family was not cool with the idea of her dating me. So I think
What is
that
your
all
what is your
so easiest way to put it is like I just tell people that I'm black,
okay?
but I'm
That's not true.
I'm multi-ethnic. So my mom is white and Japanese and my dad is Native American and Bahamian.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's some genes.
Yeah,
You
man.
got good genes.
Hey,
Don't tell anybody I said. Don't tell.
try to keep it that way, you know? But it's
Yeah,
like for a lot of
you're just
people
trying to
they're
add in. You were trying to
hey,
add in some more genes into the genes.
hey man, like
Do your part.
if I ever have a child, it's gonna be like someone just hit random on a character creation. But
Did you ever see that
it's
episode of South Park where like everybody was finally like just like a light brown, like because we had mixed up so much?
yeah.
That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, it's that's been like the joke I've used a few times on stage is like say by 2050 everyone's gonna look like me. So if anything, like I'm just getting out ahead of it. But
Trying to be, I'm trying to be the leader. Trying to be
yeah,
the leader of this group.
yeah, I'm trying to be the precursor. But, but yeah, it was just one of those things where it just didn't work out for whatever reason. My life went on, her life went on, but when she reached out, I wasn't expecting it, and then I was kind of like, wow, hey, thank you. Like I did not expect that this one date that we went on stuck with you for so long. But, you know, that was kind of the end of our interactions for the most part.
You okay? So can I do? Am I allowed to do a quick plug?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I do this other podcast on the side with my good friend Hannah, and the name of that podcast is called Mixtape Therapy. You can find it on like Spotify and YouTube. Anyways, and it's about relationships. So a lot of what we talk about is relationships. And you made me think of something that I really haven't ever thought of before. When we talk about like ghosting, because that's like a big thing, like right, people getting ghosted and stop texting and or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's like if you're trying to build a relationship with somebody, I mean, it is great to learn who they are in like a written level, like asking questions and like understanding. But it's never not going to be better ultimately to see them in person because that's where you want to be in the end is in
Mhm.
person, right? And I think we have a tendency to depend on technology in that moment. And when you're trying to find like a life partner, like or like someone you want to spend time with, you need to go like actually spend time with them because I think there's a lot that gets lost in translation over messengers and memes or anything else we do that's not face to face like contact. I just never thought of that before. How important that probably is, I mean, and it does get lost on people.
Yeah, I think, being around a person is very important, like
I mean, it's super important.
yeah, when all you're doing is looking at a screen and reading words or, looking at pictures, it's kind of hard to gauge who that person really is because,
100%.
you can lie your ass off in a text message. Now they have AI bots that will text people back for you.
Oh,
And
man.
it's crazy. You can get on like a dating app and you can link the AI chatbot to the dating app. And whenever you match with a person, the AI chatbot will talk to the person for you. Which is like, could you imagine that?
Look, all I could think of, okay, so like so the AI bot like did all the talking to set up the date, right? So now like I'm on my way to the date, I got my headphone in, I go, okay, you gotta what did you say? Like what did you say to her? I gotta know
Yeah.
all the stuff that you're telling. No, no, just stay, no, stay on the line, stay on the line. Okay, like what? And like you're like, I'm gonna leave my earpiece in. You're just gonna talk to me as I talk to her. Like
Yeah.
just to try to get like a date. Like,
Yeah. It's
that's crazy.
it's like, yeah, that's even crazier, but it's like back in the day when your friend would talk to a girl for you.
Oh yeah, 100%. What was that? What's that? The guy with the nose, like didn't Steve Martin, Roxanne, the movie Roxanne? Am I making this up? Like the guy that he would whisper the words to the other guy, like so that
Oh,
it's like it's an old fairy tale or something. I sound like an
I
idiot.
no, I know what you're talking about. They did
Yeah, but
a
he would help him out. Your buddy, like I used to do that for one of my boys. I was that
yeah,
guy.
yeah,
I'm good.
I've
I'm a good wingman. Let me tell you,
a
like I kill
same,
it.
same, and like, I've done it for buddies in the past, but ultimately it's like that person becomes attracted to your words, you know? And when you have a certain expectation for who you think that person is based on your conversations, and then the expectation is higher than reality, you know, it leaves a lot to be desired. You know what I mean?
This is what I realized. I realized it's kind of like comedy writing in a sense of like, right? Like if I'm writing jokes for you, I need to write jokes like for you, like that I would think you would tell, right?
Mhm.
And if I'm like writing pickup lines for one of my buddies, I can't give him the lines that I would use because it doesn't work. Like, cause I've been like, hey, go say this. And it's just like it bombs. And then I go
Mhm.
do it across the room and it totally works. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because we were just two different people like that. Right. So I had to start like coming up with stuff that like I thought would work for him, you know?
Yeah, and, you know, it's like it's always interesting because I've had people who are like, "Man, like, how does this work for you, but it doesn't work for me?" And I'm just like, "Because we're not the same person." You know, like, your approach is gonna be different, your delivery is gonna be different, you know, like, people might just find what I say to be funny and endearing as opposed to you, where people might not take it the same way. You know, so like all you can do is be yourself. And if that person doesn't like it, then why would you want to pretend to be somebody else? You know what I mean?
Hey, you just set me up. I mean, that's my whole thing, man. It's like, you
Mhm.
know what I mean? My thing is like, as long as you're not harming yourself or you're not harming anybody else, you know, causing harm to people, then you should be whatever you want and be confident in it. I think, but so much so, we try to be something else. We try to dress in a way that's not us. We try to be in a way that we think we should kind of be, or that we think we should dress or act or whatever. And like, I don't do any of that. Like, this is just me, man. This is just who I am. I try to, you know, I know things, I know a lot of things about myself too. I know I have a potty mouth. I know, but I know I'm a great dad. I try to be a great partner. I try to be a great friend. You know, I have a job that I love. Like, you know, I mean, there's bad stuff and there's good stuff, and you have to accept it all. Like that's who I am. Like I can only just be
Mm.
this. This is all I can be. I mean, like what else do you want? I mean, I could be something else, but then you're getting sold a false bill of goods. Do you want that? Do you want me to not be myself in front of you? Because that sounds really crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think it robs the relationship of authenticity.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Mhm.
Okay, and this is not it's gonna be sound like a political question, but it's not. Okay. Is it better to have a president that is totally transparent about being a piece of shit, all right? Or to have a president that tells you he's not being a piece of shit when he's still being a piece of shit? Is it better to have the transparency of like, wow, like this guy's a total jackass? Or is it better to have like, well, he does like horrible things, but he seems like a really nice person?
I mean, I would always say the former, not the latter, because for a person to be a shitty person, it takes a lot of cognizance to admit to being a shitty person,
100.
as opposed to a person who's being a shitty person, but they're like, "No, I'm not being shitty," because that leaves one of two options. Either one, nobody in their life has ever told them, "Hey, man, you're being a piece of shit." So they just go through life thinking like, "Hey, this is cool." Like,
Or
no
they
one's
know and they're consciously being a piece of shit.
yeah. Yeah, and, like, either way, that's so much work to keep up that illusion. Like, "No, hey, I may have messed up, but, like, I'm not the worst person in the world. Look at this other guy." And, you know, it's like, if a person is a piece of shit and people embrace the fact that they are a piece of shit, and they're just like, "Yeah, he's a piece of shit, but he's my piece of shit," it says a lot about those people, you know? And it's like making excuses.
Yeah, because if in this particular example, if we recognize there hasn't been too many presidents that haven't done the exact same kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And so, like, getting worked up about one or the other, you know what I mean? It's like crazy, like, because, like, it's always been this way, you know what I mean? It's just like some people are more transparent about who they are as a person. But, like, I'm not like, I mean, also, like, I don't have time for any of that. I got too much stuff I wanna do to argue politics, you know what I mean?
You know, arguing politics and things like that. It's a
It's when you
lot
have
of
to be the best serial killer. It's when you have if you wanna talk look, you help. I'm sorry to interrupt. You want to talk politics? You want to talk religion? Don't talk, shut the fuck up, and ask questions. Okay. If you really want to have a talk about those kinds of things, you are better off asking as many questions you possibly can and trying to understand where that other person is coming from. But if you don't, if you're just going to defend your side, it's just going to be a battle. That's exactly what a battle is. It's defending the side, right? It's not a welcoming party. It's like, get the fuck off my lawn. You know, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's very interesting because like I vote how I vote, and when it comes to topics of like religion and things like that, I'm not religious by any means. But a big part of that is I've had to study religion in order to say like, "Hey, I do not agree with this thing." Because I feel as though as a person to say I am against this thing, I have to understand it. Because if not, it makes me as ignorant as someone who blindly follows that faith or blindly votes a certain way. Now, with that being said, there are always people who are more upset with me for not aligning with their beliefs than there are people who are not, which is even crazier because, like, I've gotten it from all sides. Like, I've been told, "Oh, like, you should always vote Democrat," or, like, "If you're a real American, you'll vote Republican," or, "Why aren't you a Christian if you know so much about it?" Or, like, "Why aren't you Muslim? Why aren't you Jewish? Why aren't you this?" And at the end of the day, it's like, if your entire goal is to pressure me into being a part of something, why would I ever want to be a part of it? And two, is that really what you want? Is to pressure someone into acquiescing to be a part of that thing? Because then it's not genuine anymore. They're simply doing it so you'll stop hounding them. So that means there is no dedication, there is no faith, there is no belief in that thing. It's just like in a relationship. If you want to do something and your partner says no, and then you just continue to hound them about doing that thing. And then they eventually are just like, okay, whatever, we'll do it. And you're excited because you got the answer that you wanted. Your partner is unhappy because all they have felt leading up to this is stress. Now you're going to do that thing and your partner is unhappy the entire time. You are upset with your partner for not enjoying themselves. Your partner is upset and stressed because you made them do this thing and they acquiesced just to make you happy. And now you're both unhappy and your partner acquiesced. You pressured them. At no point was there a conversation leading up to this to say, "Hey, this is how I feel. This is why I want you to do this," or "Hey, this is why I don't want to do this." And it ultimately just leads to pointless frustration and strife and things of that nature. And I think that is kind of going back to what you were talking about before with people who ghost other people. It's easier to ghost a person than it is to say, "Hey, this is why I don't want to continue this," or "Hey, these are the red flags that I saw that, I just wasn't gelling with," or "Hey, I cannot look past these certain things." And it's easier just to be like, "Well, you don't know where I live. I'm just gonna block your phone number. Hopefully I'll see you never." You know what I mean? And it just kind of is what it is. And like I've reached that point where it doesn't bother me anymore. Like I get ghosted all the time. Like it is what it is. And like on occasion, like I'll see them around and or, like it kind of just is what it is. And before it used to bother me because then I would immediately internalize that. Like, what did I do wrong? But sometimes, it's like if a person won't have that conversation with you, is that a person you really want to be in a relationship with?
My little saying is that relationships are built on the corner of compromise and communication. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? And so you have to know how to communicate. I'm not being like braggadocious or anything, but like it's a lot of like what I work on with my clients and I work on like in my own personal life because like that's the most important thing is being the best communicator for the ones that are most important for me. That's the least I could do. I could show up and be the best communicator and then be willing to compromise. You know what I mean? It's like, well, hey, you don't want to do this thing. Okay. Like this is in your scenario. You don't want to go to this thing. So what's the compromise? Can I go? Is that okay? Can I go with one of my friends? Can I go by myself? Do you want to go and like go to the city with us, but I'll just go to the concert by myself? Do you want
Mhm.
to, like if you don't want to go, it's fine. Like my girlfriend's a musician. And so we have a lot of similar music tastes and then we have a lot of not similar music tastes. You know what I mean? And so she'll go to comedy shows and concerts with her sister and her cousin. I bought her tickets to like take them. I'm like, hey, I'm not going to see Erasure. Knock yourself out. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Because I know that that's what she's into, and it's not about me. Our relationship's not about me, it's about us, right? And, like, how I show up for us. So I don't know we can do something else together. I don't have to go see Billy Joel or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I get that 100%. It's like there are a lot of people that are not into what I'm into, and that's something I'm completely okay with.
Like,
Like,
what are you into? I wanna know what are you into? What's your vice? What's the one thing that you're like, is it comedy or is it something else?
so surprisingly, I do comedy. I'm stand-up comedian, but I do not really watch or listen to comedy. I don't really like to be influenced by what other people are writing or what other people are saying, or to potentially steal someone's joke. And I say
It
potentially because it can accidentally happen where you are thinking about a certain topic, you hear another comedian who has a similar joke, and you're like, "Oh, that works perfectly with my joke." And, you may forget all about it, and then you're like, "Oh, I got this punchline." Or, there's certain, you know, current events that are happening. 10,000 people may be talking about it. The likelihood that your joke is going to overlap with someone else's statistically is very high. The wording might be differently, but the punchline may be the same. A lot of people have similar kind of forms of humor, especially on similar topics. You know what I mean? Eh, like right now, my main vices are music, probably music and anime. Those are like the things I enjoy. But it's like it's really bad. I don't really do things consistently. So like I'll go a month, 2 months without watching any anime and then I'll binge watch like 5 shows. And then, with music, I always have a headphone in. I'm usually always listening to some form of music. But
what's your favorite genre of music?
God, that's hard.
You need to come do a mixtape therapy episode. That's what we do is we take songs and media and then we talk about how it influences us. You have to come on. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, anyways, sidebar.
Oh, so like overall course of my life, I would have to say like hardcore music has always held a special place in my heart. Like that was the first music scene that I was ever heavily involved with. Like getting to see so many hardcore bands and like getting to know those dudes and having so many friends in hardcore bands has always been like such an important and pivotal time in my life where I don't think it could ever be replaced. So I think
Amazing.
for the sake of sentimentality, it would have to be, the hardcore music. Also, I'm going to double check after this to make sure I said that word correctly. Uh,
Sentimentality? Is that
yeah,
how you
yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I said.
I'm gonna be hon look, okay, one, I might be illiterate, so don't take from me,
Yeah,
but I don't know if that's a word, but I liked it. When you
yeah.
said it, I was like, "Ooh, I don't know if that's a word, but I like it."
I was thinking between that and sentimental value, so I was just
Ooh,
like,
and then
"You know what?
just put it together.
Yeah, fuck it." So just for
It's
the
all
sake
about
of it.
hey, life is all about the sentimentality, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
After
like, I mean
No. So I'd say after hardcore would probably be, oh man, probably 90s college rock
mm, nice.
because that's what I grew up listening to, and then it would be like hardcore, 90s college rock, pop punk, and reggae, and then rap music after that.
Nice.
But, it kinda all depends on the day, but, like, as I've gotten older, I've been exposed to more forms of music. So, like, I listen to, like, Eastern European industrial music. I have an entire playlist of just, like, goth music. Gosh, I have an entire playlist of just, like, lowercase bands, doom metal bands, thrash metal, stoner metal, sludge metal. Like, there's so many genres of music that I really enjoy. So it's hard to say, like, this particular genre defines me because at any given time, I could switch. They're kinda interchangeable in my life. It's just kinda how it is that day for me. So, what about for you?
Well, one, I love that you love music because I love music. That's why I have this whole mixtape therapy thing. 'Cause
Mhm,
'cause I love music so much. And I do like, on my own personal podcast, I do this other thing called mixtape therapy, where I bring bands in here and I record bands in the studio. So we have like live performances inside the studio, which is like amazing, right? But I just want to say real quick, like
mhm,
when we were talking about earlier, like, you have all the information at your fingertips and like there's no excuse to not be informed and stuff like that. I grew up in a town of about 6,000 people.
mhm.
Okay. And this is in like 1990s. It's a long time ago. Right. And at the point where like we had cars or we could like ride our bikes and stuff like that, like the only place to go in my hometown to get music was Walmart. That was the only place you could get music, okay? And so, like, Walmart was not a big Walmart, and it also, like, everything's edited and it only has certain stuff. And this is at the time where, like, CDs are coming out and these sons of a gun, some band would come out hot and they would have, like, one hot single and you buy the whole CD and the rest of it sucked. You know what I mean? So I had so many CDs, so many tapes. My parents bought me Time Life tapes. I had so much music. I had my mom's old 45s, just music, 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 music all the time. But you got all these like boxes and CDs. And I mean, like, I just got rid of like so many CDs because I don't know what to do with them, right?
Mhm.
And to have all of that at your fingertips that you can access at any moment, like you do, all these different playlists you do for all the different moods that you have. That is amazing, and it's so amazing because just like you, like, on one day, I'll feel like I wanna listen to this, so next day, I'm, like, into this, and a new album come out, I'm like, "I'm gonna listen to this sucker, like, top to bottom," and then, I just love spending that time around music, and on my own little personal social media, I'm always quoting, like, little clips from songs, like, when I hear something that sounds, like, really cool. It was like, earlier you said something, and I thought of the part of that this Taylor Swift song where what's that song? "You Need to Calm Down," where
Mhm.
she said, "Throwing shade never made anybody any less gay." And I was like, "Yeah, she right." You know what I mean? She's right. You know what I mean? You being a dickhead ain't gonna make anybody less gay. You know what I mean? That's not gonna happen, like, you know what I mean? It'd be better for you to try to understand that person as a person. That would be more effective than you just straight out just like, hoping they would not be who you want them not be who they are, you know?
Yeah. It's like my I don't know, again, I could talk about music all day, but, recently I've been digging back into, like, a lot of oldies, like,
Wait, whoa, whoa,
every
whoa, whoa, what do you define as oldies?
everything from the 1940s to I'd probably say the 1970s.
Okay, alright, alright,
Yeah.
alright, 'cause I was like, how just real quickly, how old are you?
I'm 35.
Okay, okay, because
Yeah.
I was like, my daughter thinks oldies is like Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
That's what she thinks oldies is, you know?
It's like so, like, my dad was older when my parents had me, so, like, he raised me I grew up listening to oldies, and my mom only listened to country music. So, like, I
Oh,
grew up
nice.
to, like, country music. My dad's favorite bands were Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd. So, the first movie I had as a child was Pink Floyd's The Wall, and I remember watching it and not understanding any of the symbolism, but, I just thought it was really cool. And then I would spend time with my great uncle, and he would only play, like, old school country music. And listening to that, I hated it at the time, but now, as I've grown as a person and, between, like, my writing and my comedy and, this podcast, it's really enabled my desire and my ability to storytell. And listening to a lot of older songs, nothing against new music, but a lot of older songs told stories. Sometimes it was cohesive, sometimes, you know, bar to bar, the story did not make any sense. But I've always enjoyed that, and like even now, like I am a big proponent of like outlaw country music, and I think it's because like I can relate to it now as an adult, where I'm like, hey, I don't want to pay taxes. I fucking hate the government. Stay off my property. And it's like that's to say that's like they were saying this 100 years ago, and now there's like this new resurgence of country music artists that are leaning back towards that the outlaw country roots, but they have they have a more unique young person perspective. And when a lot of people think of like country music, they automatically think of like some guy with a rebel flag and an old pickup truck who's going to pull his gun on you. And yes, those people exist, but when you look at old interviews with like Johnny Cash, Chris Christopherson, and a lot of those people, they were very progressive for their time. And a lot of them were labeled as un American or as hippies because they were like, hey, we don't support bombing other countries for no reason. We don't support paying taxes to give corporations breaks. Like we think everyone should have to pull their weight, and rich people do not deserve special concessions because they are rich. And like being able to relate to that and say, hey, like, hey, I feel the same way. Like I don't think anyone should be a trillionaire. Like no one should be a billionaire. Like you have more money than the GDP of most developing nations. That is unnecessary. So it's like being able to relate to that, I think, is very important, and enjoying storytelling aspect is amazing. But at the same time, I can turn my brain off and just listen to something with a good beat or with a catchy hook. Again, it kind of just depends on my mood. I think the only genres I avoid are anything with Yoko Ono because I despise her as a person. Jam bands, I cannot stand jam bands. I've tried, it makes me angry. And Dave Matthews Band,
Well,
fucking,
he's kind of a jam band. They're kind of a jam band a little bit.
hey, perfect. I hate Dave Matthews Band. It's almost too easy listening for me, where it's like a dog whistle. It makes me angry on like a visceral level, and I don't even understand it. But like if I hear him crooning on a song, I'll get up and leave the room.
I have a Dave Matthews Band story if you want to hear it.
Absolutely.
I'll make it quick.
No, 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 you're fine.
I was trying to court this young lady, and so we went to a Dave Matthews Band concert. This is like in 4 or something like that. It was a long time ago. Sorry, that was my girlfriend. Just make sure everything's cool. Anyways, so we go see Dave Matthews Band. It's an outdoor venue, and when I say it monsoon, like it monsoon, man, I mean like all the ground was just like turned to like mud, and everybody's using their blankets or anything they had like cover up. And at the worst moment that it's raining, that dude played "Don't Drink the Water," and I was like, you cheeky, Dave, you're cheeky." I like
Yeah,
that.
it's like, did you do that on purpose? You fuck.
I felt like they changed the set on purpose, but maybe they were gonna play it all along. Who knows?
It's like I had a friend who has a Dave Matthews Band story where they were going to see him, and there was a guy riding a bike. A pedestrian got hit by someone turning a corner, wasn't paying attention, clipped this woman. This guy on a bike gets off his bike, helps the lady, and then my friends stop. They're talking to the guy, and they're like, like, "Hey, do you need a ride somewhere?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm really late for this thing. Like, could you guys give me a ride?" And you're like, "Yeah, sure." Throw the bike in the back of their car. They're riding with him, and they're listening to Dave Matthews Band. And he's like, "Oh, where are you guys going?" And they're like, "Oh, we're going here to see Dave Matthews." And he like doesn't say anything, has them drop him off a block away from the concert. And then after they got out, they go inside. He comes up on stage, and they realized he was in the car with them the whole time while they're listening to his music.
Wait, Dave Matthews?
Yeah, yeah, he
What
was
was he doing?
riding.
What was he doing on a like? Was he on a bike? Did you say he was on a
Yeah,
bike?
he was riding a bicycle to the venue. He's one of those people. I don't know, man.
I love how that like I guess he looks so regular that nobody knows he was Dave Matthews.
He does. He looks so regular. If you put a baseball cap on him, it's kind of like when Superman puts on his glasses and becomes Clark Kent, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Most forgettable guy on the planet.
Yeah.
And you know, I've gotten to work security for a lot of bands over the years, and I can honestly say, Darius Rucker, Kenny Chesney, Cypress Hill, and Art Alexis from Everclear, nicest people in the world.
So I didn't want you to say that they were mean. I want you to say they were
No.
nice.
No, no, I would never shit on them. There are a few bands I would shit on, but no, I won't bother to do that this episode.
Yeah.
But no,
Let's not give them any like publicity. You know what
I
I mean?
know. Yeah, it was pretty crazy, like getting to hang out. Oh, and then all the guys from Earth, Wind, and Fire who are still alive, really
Oh,
fantastic people.
all 26 of them.
Yeah, that was actually one of my first
Okay.
concerts.
Okay. Question. I got a question. Okay. How many members of a band have to die and get replaced before they're not the same band anymore?
Man, I would probably say once it hits the majority, it's not the same band anymore.
So, like, what I'm saying, if there's 5 guys and 3 of them die and get replaced, then, like, you can't call yourself, like, Journey. You gotta be like, "I'm this is Journey too."
No, it's like when the lead singer of Sublime died and they became Sublime with Rome. It's like you're not Sublime
Well,
anymore.
I mean, but they are Sublime, right?
I don't know.
Okay, okay, what about okay, this is my one of my favorite bands of all time
Mhm.
is Van Halen,
Okay.
okay? Is Van Halen still Van Halen when Sammy Hagar is singing, or does it have to be David Lee Roth?
I mean, I guess it depends on your introduction to that band
Mm.
because if you came in the beginning versus whenever Panama came out, depending on who the vocalist was at the time, that's all that you know. So to you, at your perspective at that time, that is the band. But the interesting thing is, with most times with bands, when the lead singer is gone, people no longer consider that band to be the same band that it was prior,
Very fair.
which is a very interesting perspective because musicians are very easily replaceable. And it's kind of one of the reasons why I don't like Chris Martin from Coldplay. Like, I grew up listening to Coldplay, liked their music, but he threatened to quit the band, and the band was like, "Okay, we'll go on without you." And during an interview, he said, "I am Coldplay." And he was like, "I could replace all of you tomorrow and nobody would ever care. But if I
Mm.
leave this band, there is no more Coldplay." And as shitty as it was to say that, it's very true, you know. And it's like the guy from the Philippines who replaced the lead singer of AC/DC.
No, of, Journey,
What's the
right?
journey?
Yeah, AC/DC, that dude's still alive.
Okay, well,
The guy that replaced him's still alive. So it used to be Bon Scott,
huh?
right? And then it got replaced with Brad Johnson, right?
Mhm.
That dude's still alive. He's just like 106. But you're talking
Okay.
about I could because I was thinking about that as you were talking about. You're talking about Journey, and the Filipino guy sounds just like the dude from Steve Perry. He sounds just like Steve Perry. So it's like, well, I mean, like I feel like, well, do you give a shit now? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, do you care what it looks like? Because he
Yeah,
sounds
it's a
just like him.
yeah, sometimes you care, sometimes you don't. Like,
Adam Lambert with Queen.
yeah. Yeah, there've been so many bands over the years that I can think of, like, this may be a younger band, I don't know if you ever listen to them, but Chiodos, like,
I'm not
Chiodos,
familiar, but I'm
yeah,
gonna look it up. I'm gonna look
they
it up
were
now.
they're a post-hardcore band, they came out, like, MySpace era again, but they put out music, and then essentially they stopped making music, they came back, but the lead singer has done a series of shows where it's only him, and he's replaced all of the other members of the band.
Wow.
And he's done reunion shows, and they reached out to the other members of the band, and they were like, "Yeah, he never contacted us. Like we are Chiodos. Like we made this band. We brought him in as the vocalist, and then he just replaced us." But unfortunately, that's not anything new. I mean, we look at one band that I used to really support and really enjoy was Ghost. or back then, I think they were Ghost BC. Oh God, Tobias Forge, his lead singer. Everyone knows him as Papa Emeritus. Tobias Forge openly said, "I have never written a single verse. I have never written a chord. I have never done anything. I just show up and whatever is written, I sing. Everything is done for me. He just walks in and does it." But, nobody knew who was in the band. Like their own family members didn't even know. They would show up in full attire at all times, everywhere they went, even when they signed to the record label. So they were super dedicated to it, and they trusted Tobias Forge to do everything for the band as far as like being the face, being the voice, and going to contract signings and stuff like that, because that was Papa Emeritus's role as the Pope of Ghost. If your musicians are these unspeaking, you know, elements, then why would they be at a press signing? Doesn't make any sense. But eventually, he redid the contract of Ghost, which made him the sole member of Ghost, and everybody else, the actual founders of the band, they were just hired musicians.
Wow.
So when they were getting $100,000 a show, he was getting paid that, and they were just getting paid the hired musician's wage. None of them knew until they were like, "Hey, like, where's the money from the tour?" And he was like, "Oh, that's my money." And then you look at how many people have cycled in and out of that band over the years now. And it's unfortunate, but for a lot of people, because his voice is so unique, if he were to leave Ghost, it wouldn't be Ghost anymore. And it's really unfortunate. But a lot of people let their ego get the best of them and decide like, well, I am the band. I decide this and that. But it's like even the Spinners. I was listening to their music the other day. They had some really big hits in the 60s and 70s. I think Gerald Levert is still alive. I think two of the four guys are still alive, but the two guys who passed away, their sons have taken their place. So they still tour, they still do all the big hits, but it's like, is it the Spinners if half the original members are gone?
Well, I think if your son joins, then it helps it. Like the bloodline stays strong. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you could
it's
if it's all relatives, then I feel like it's the same band.
yeah, it's like the
I don't know.
Spinners with an asterisk.
I'm just making it up.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all about your perspective and like how much you actually care. Because
Yeah, yeah.
some people don't know a single member of any band that they like. They're just like, "Hey, sounds good. I'll keep listening to it." And then one day you might watch a video and you're like, "I don't remember this guy. Who is this?"
Yeah.
So, who are some of your favorite bands?
Oh, man. Oh, let's see. I listen to okay, so one, I listen to, a lot not a lot of I listen to a lot of country. I
Mhm,
have a decent amount of country. I listen to, a lot of rap. I listen to a lot of Houston rap specifically, or
mhm.
Southern rap. So, like, I mean, that's my bread and butter. I love Southern rap. But I listen to, like, everything, and so, like, especially, like, again, we have these devices now, right? So, like, I can make playlists for everything, so, like, I went in, I made a playlist of, like, all the music that my mom used to listen to when I was a kid, and a lot of times, that's what I do, like, my meditations to, or if I just don't have anything I wanna listen to, it's what I put on, and there's a level of, like, comfort that comes with that, right? That sets me up to be, like, better, and so, it really just depends, but, like, I like Eric Church.
Mhm.
Let's name off, like, people that you know, like, maybe Eric Church or John. I like John Mayer, like, I'm a big John Mayer guy. Let me look on my wall. I love Van Halen. Because I got all my CDs that I got there's all the record covers are on the wall as the background for my podcast. I love ZZ Top, the Eagles,
Mhm.
rappers, I love, like, I mean, like Slim Thug, Little Kiki, all these, like, Southern rappers, but, like, I mean, who didn't like Eminem? Who doesn't like Eminem? You know what I mean? Like I was a huge Eminem fan. I'm a big. I mean, I don't know if you can say this anymore, but like, I mean, I'm a huge Kanye fan. I love Kanye's music. Y'all are crazy. Whatever he does outside of that, I don't have any responsibility for. But the man's music, we like Michael Jackson's music. So like, I mean, let's fair.
I don't know. There's a bit of a caveat to that.
What's that?
Michael Jackson, as time has passed, he has been exonerated more and more because a lot of those children who claimed that things happened said, "Hey, my parents told me to say that."
Really?
And,
What?
not overlooking any of it, not victim blaming or anything of the sort, as opposed to Kanye, there was no Twitter when Michael Jackson was alive like that. So he was never out here saying, "I love Nazis," or "Hitler was right," or, anything else of the
I'm
sort.
not look, I'm not arguing that the guy has some things that he needs to figure out. I'm just saying, I mean, oh man, when I listen to some like old Kanye, College Dropout, like all those old records, like when he was just killing it,
Yeah,
it's like Kid Cudi and like all these guys, you know what I mean? But I mean, but I love all music. I listen to all music, you know what I mean? And like, I have just as much country. I would say the only thing I don't listen a lot of is like hardcore music, even though I used to work in a bar that we had like a lot of hardcore bands come in. But I'll tell you this, you can tell the difference between a good hardcore band and a bad hardcore band. People think, like yelling and screaming and everything you're doing, like there isn't an art to it. 1000% there's an art to it. And you could tell the difference when someone does it well. Because bands that come in, I'll be like, oh, like I wouldn't listen to this, but this kind of jams. You know what I mean? Like this, I see why they're good and I see why people are coming to their show. So anyway, so
yeah,
yeah, I just love all music. So
yeah. It's I always like when people are riding with me places, I'll let them, choose the music. And I'm like, "Hey, you put on what you want to listen to." Because, like, I don't wanna always be in control of the music. So just put on what you want, and, like, I wanna hear what you wanna listen to,
I
because,
do
like,
that with my, go
Mhm.
ahead.
No, I like to see people's perspective and, like, their comfort music, you know what I mean?
I do
And,
that with
like
my 4-year-old. I let her control the music when we're in the car,
mm,
and a lot of times, like, I'll be singing songs. Like, the other day, I was singing Blondie's One Way or Another,
okay.
and she goes, "Daddy, put that song on my playlist." And I said, "Okay." You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so then, like, right now, she has, like, a lot of Backstreet Boys and these random, like, old '70s rock songs and a couple of, like, songs from the movie Trolls and all
Mhm,
these, like, little kids songs and all this stuff, but she just loves picking music and hearing new music. She's also, like, she takes singing lessons, she's a little singer, and so
mhm.
I feel like it's my responsibility, like, every time you hear about like someone being really successful, they always go, "Oh, my dad was so supportive," or "My dad, like, he supported my music ideas, or he supported me here, supported me there." And so I'm just trying to be that guy. I'm trying to be the guy that's like the supportive, like, for my clients, for my partner, for my daughter, for everyone I come in contact with. I feel like it's my responsibility.
Yeah, and I think that's really beautiful, and, again, it speaks volumes of who you are as a person. A lot of people they're only in the game for number 1, and that's all they care about. It's very interesting for me because, like, again, like, I do comedy, I do volunteer work, I work for a local municipality, and those are all very front-facing things. And then, even doing this, but outside of this, I don't really fuck with people. Like, I don't really like talking to people. Usually, most of the time, if I'm out of the house, I am far away from people. I'm in the woods. I'm up a hill somewhere with my dog. Sometimes, I take him hiking with me. I'm riding my bike. I'm listening to music, and people are always like, you know, if you do all these things, why are you like so serious? How come you don't really talk to people? And it's like, as much as I don't enjoy being social or a lot of the aspects of it, I understand the importance of it. And sometimes the macro is way more important than the micro because, like, on an individual level, I might not like you. And maybe it's something you didn't even know that you did, but there's something that may have happened where I'm just like, I don't fuck with this dude. But at the same time, like, I still want to see you succeed. Like, I wanna see you thrive as another person, like, I wanna see you be the best version of yourself, but maybe that's just you being the best version of yourself away from me, you know what I mean? And, like, trying to get people to understand that is crazy because, like, people think that we're really good friends, and I'm like, "Bro, I don't know your name." And, like, I've had people do that, and it's like, I appreciate it in hindsight. I had a friend, she was riding a bus and, like, a public transportation bus, talking to another friend about me, and this guy from the back of the bus yells. He was like, "Oh, you're talking about Joe?" And they're like, "Yeah." He was like, "Talk about Big Joe? I know him. That's my dog. That's my dog." And he's getting hype on the bus, super excited. I did not know who he was. And, like, I didn't have the heart to tell him that, and I'm just like, "Oh, yeah, cool, man, thank you, I appreciate you so much." But, like, sometimes it bothers me because 'cause I'm like, I don't like being in the limelight like that, but other times, like, I just appreciate that people appreciate me, and, like, getting to be in a place where I can help other people is much more important, and I'm willing to sacrifice sometimes, like, my level of comfort to help other people. As much as, I don't always want to, I gotta push past my comfort zone, and sometimes, like, I gotta push myself to a place where I don't really wanna be. But again, that's how we grow as people, that's how we become better. Sometimes it's doing shit that we don't wanna do just to be there for another person, you know what I mean?
Well, that guy was bringing awareness to the impact that you have on other people, even when you don't know who they are, as a person, right? And
Mhm,
so, like, I think about that. I think about the impact I have on people I don't even know that, I don't say, for lack of a better word, think they know me. But maybe I'm the guy that comes to the coffee shop all the time, or maybe I'm the guy that goes to this one gas station all the time, or whatever. Like, I'll give you a story real quick. There's a gas station I go to down my house, and my daughter talks a lot. Where does she get it from? I have no idea. And he said, I always say hello to the gas station. I'm always like, "Hey, what's up? Like, how's your day? How's it going? Like, what's up?" And this guy's in there like a lot, right? And so now we've kind of like developed this little kind of like weird friendship. You know what I mean? Because like I go in there, I say, "Hi, how you doing?" He says, "How you doing?" Kind of talk for a brief second or whatever. I don't know. I don't know him. I don't really know him. I just know him as the guy that works at the gas station, right? But like maybe when I walk in, we've had so many good conversations that inside of him, he has an uptick. He goes, "Here comes that guy that always talks to me," or he goes, "Here comes that annoying fucker that's always talking to me." But either way, I'm engaging him from a place of like, "Hey, like, I want to be authentically, how are you doing today? Hope you're having a great day. You have a great day." I want to show up like that, right? Because if I show up like that, the chances of me impacting you, I feel like, greatly increase. And the impact of any bullshit that you're carrying impacting me goes way down because I'm winning that battle because I'm showing up connected to something that's bigger than all of us, this whole universe. You know what I
mhm,
mean? I'm showing up connected. I want you to be connected. I don't want you to disconnect me. And that takes a lot of awareness on our part and takes a lot of awareness on noticing other people and how they show up and trying to be more empathetic to the fact that they're not connected in a way they should be. You know what I mean? Especially when you have a bad interaction with somebody, you're like, "Well, why the fuck? Why is this fucking person on me? Like, what did I do?"
mhm.
Well, it's probably not about you, right? So, like, you could show up as a person that be like, say, "Oh, it seems like, something might be bothering you. Is everything okay?" You don't have to be like, "What's this fucker doing?" You don't have to be like that.
Yeah, and it's like, I think for me, I can tell pretty easily when a person is being authentic versus a person who's just trying to get something out of me. And, I think that's very it's very important, and even more so, like, I'm not always the most welcoming person, but I can appreciate when a person has energy like you where, it's like I'm at a 10, I'm having a great day, I want you to have a great day too, and it's like I can appreciate that. I might not be able to match your energy, like you're like Tigger, I'm more like Eeyore, like I don't get above a certain
Maybe
octave.
maybe Pooh Bear. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I don't think you're if we're going on if we're doing the Winnie the Pooh scale,
yeah, yeah.
okay? This is how it goes. It goes Eeyore,
Mhm,
okay? Pooh Bear,
mhm.
okay? Piglet, okay? And then Tigger.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I guess like the Zen would be the owl, right? Like that's where that's like that's when you exceed like your energy level is so good that you come back around and you're in a Zen like the old owl, I think. I don't know.
Mhm. I like that. Yeah, and it's like sometimes it's like my immediate reaction is to be like, "Hey, man, like pump the brakes, calm down." But then I'm just like, you know what? No, like it's unfair of me to ask someone to not be themselves or to turn down who they are as a person because it's not who I am as a person. And it's like it's being around a person in a good mood is very infectious. It makes you want to be in a good mood. And I think that's also something very important is to like, like are you spreading hate? Are you spreading frustration? Are you spreading negativity? Like or are you trying to make people happy? Are you trying to, bring some good stuff to people?
Well, it's
And
kinda like I think a lot of people are waiting for the person to show up to put them in a good mood, and I'm kinda like, "Well, why don't you just be the person that puts the other people in a good mood? Why don't you just take that role? Like, you don't have to be the person that needs to be cheered up. Why don't you be the person that's cheering the other people up? Because
yeah.
ultimately, it's way better.
Mm,
Because what I'm doing is ultimately, I'm giving you the gratitude that I already feel because I feel so taken care of and blessed that I have space for you, like, as a person. And just like comedy, you need an audience that when you tell a joke and it kills and you feel that, like, you need the audience to do that. Because if you tell a joke and there's nobody there, there's no feeling of you killing it, right? So when you show gratitude to somebody else, you show grace to somebody else, you give them space, then you get that comedy kickback. You get that feeling of connection because that's what happens when people laugh at a joke and it all hits is because we're all connected, right?
mhm.
And so it's the same thing. And so you can go do that every day of your life. But a lot of times we're like, what about me? Like, how come somebody's not doing it for me? Why not? Where's mine? You know what I mean? And that's not how this works. You know what I mean? Let me say, you said earlier that like you volunteer and you go do this and all the stuff you go do. One, thank you. Thank you for going out and doing that stuff. Thank you for taking the time to do that stuff. And two, you are totally justified in after doing all that stuff to like want to be by yourself, right? Because it's only recently that we become this connected. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
back in the day, you'd have to take a wagon like fucking 10 miles to go see your neighbor. You know what I'm saying? And so there was no like being around people all the time and so connected. This is a newer modern thing, right? So were you taking that time for yourself? And sometimes for me, it's just like I have an infrared sauna here in my studio. So I just sit in the sauna, take a cold shower, do some mobility, maybe work out, might do some meditation, might read a book, might just how much I'm making time for myself every day to recharge, to be by myself, just by myself. It's so important and we don't make enough time.
That is also very important. And, I think going into situations saying, I'm going to make the best of this is very important because that mindset, that perspective kind of sets the precedence,
Could I
like,
say it's the most important thing? There is no there is nothing more important than the mindset in which you take to go do whatever. There is no it is where it all starts, and it's where it's all going, and it's an ever flowing thing, right? So
mhm,
it's like you go to do something, it doesn't turn out the way you want it to, okay? How are you going to adjust? How are you going to shift? How are you going to respond to make sure that you continue to have some level of a good time or a good thing, even though X, Y, and Z has now happened, right? You're going to an event, you have a flat tire, you're an hour late, you have two choices. You can get to that party and go, there's nothing I can do about the maybe I'd tow your car. Nothing I can do about that now. I need to enjoy this party now. Or you can stew and ruminate over what happened to before you got there and miss the whole party. Totally up to you. Totally it's your choice. But like that's the type of stuff I try to do. I try to go, what's important to worry about? What's important right now? What's important about later? I try to live so much in the moment. And we referenced this kind of way earlier. My divorce was a moment in which my whole life just like shifted. Like I had no control. Like it was something that she wanted, and it was pulled out from underneath me. You know what I mean? And so then at that moment, I realized one, that anything can change at any moment. And so I need to be able to respond well. And two, if I want to narrow down the times that I have to respond to something shitty, then maybe I should take more control of my life. You know what I mean? And so I did. And so that got me here to being this person, which is super giving. I feel like super giving. I try to do for others and try to be just the person one of my friends goes, "Be the person that you would wanna meet." That's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to be the person that I would wanna meet, you know?
Well, that's fantastic. And, I appreciate you doing that because a lot of people don't know how to or don't want to do that, and it's
Easy, it's so easy. All you gotta do is just, like, find a person, right? Find any random person, and you just go, "Hey, how's your day going?" Or, "I really love your purse," or whatever. And sometimes people will go, "Well, I can't say things I don't mean," or whatever, right? Well, like, have the gratefulness that you have the opportunity to even talk to somebody and then find it from there, right? Like, find something to be grateful for in the interaction with this person. There's always something to be grateful for in every interaction, person, thing, place, and thing you do. You just have to look for it. You can't just take it. It's not a surface level thing. You have to be really present to see these things. You know what I mean? And then you see the connection of everything and you go, oh wow, this is all connected. We're all connected. This all matters. And if everyone would just do it, this would be real easy. But we don't know how, and we're disconnected with social media. And so we don't have the connection. And it's important. The way this all got started, as I was like, hey, man, I'm coming through Colorado and I want to be on your podcast in person. Right. That's how this whole thing got started because I've made all these friends all around via social media. So I'm going to go on a podcast tour. Right. And go have real connections. That's what my podcast is about. I very seldom do Zoom calls. I will, because I like people, and especially when I like someone like you, love to meet people and stuff like that. So I'll do a Zoom call. But when I do my podcast, I try to do it in studio, and you come into the studio, and we eat, and we drink if you have drinks, and we hang out. I just put in a bar, so we hang out and we just have this good time, and then we sit down and we talk the way you would if you were brought into somebody else's home and you're being fed and drink stuff like that. And so I try to create this environment where we just have like the best conversations because if you're going to take the time to do something you should come full force with all of it and bring the energy of like creativity of like I want to create something new and different and better and bigger and cooler. Like that's the way you should come at it. And sometimes you're going to miss the mark, but it
Mhm.
doesn't mean it's not possible. You just have to uh, 20th episode. Congratulations.
Appreciate that.
I remember 20, I remember 50, I remember 76 because 76 was the last one as my old podcast. My podcast used to be called A Moderately Good Podcast, and I did 75 episodes under that name. And then, talking about like listening to people, had a guy come on my podcast and he was like, I love this whole thing, but a moderately good podcast doesn't say what you're doing. And I was like, well, I don't know. Like, what should I do? He was like, "Well, I don't know, but, like, it's not this." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I don't know if he said it or somebody said it, but somebody said, "Just be with Scottie G." And overnight, I changed everything. I changed everything within a snap. Just
Mhm.
I was like, "That's it." Right? And ever since then, the podcast has shifted into something totally different that I never would have expected before. A whole different thing that I didn't even plan, almost better than I could have ever thought of. But you have to do the reps, right? So, like, I'm on episode 11. As we're recording this, I'm on episode 111, right? I've recorded 130 something, right? I have my podcast tour planned. I'm recording into the next year. And like I don't like now I'm just starting to hit a groove of like it kind of runs itself. Like, you know what I mean? Like where like everything's automated and stuff like that. I'm like, well, why would I stop? And I think it makes me a better dad. It makes me a better coach. It makes me a better person. Like meeting random people, talking to random people. It helps with my clients. It's more perspective. It's more confirmation. I mean, it's been amazing. But I've also put the work into it. I listen sometimes I don't listen to podcasts a lot, but I listen to ones that I admire about how they approach, about what they do and how they think about things. I like learning in that way, right? I want to be good at this. I don't need to be famous. I don't need to make a lot of money. I just want when someone listens to it, they go, "That was good." They might only listen to one episode. Like nobody knows my guests. My guests are all like friends and friends of friends and people I've met over time. There's no one really famous, right? So I have to be willing to be a space for them to be open enough to let out all the interesting things about them, right? And so that takes a lot of skill on my part that when you go back and you watch my old podcast, I was not very good at. And
Mhm.
over time, it's like changed. And so the evolution of that is an amazing feeling. It makes me better. So ramble. Sorry.
No.
Appreciate it.
Hey, well, you know, I think your approach to things is very interesting, and it is something that is also very refreshing. And honestly, I think that's a great way to end today's episode. I always like to kind of reflect on what it is that we talked about, and perspective is very interesting because it allows us to not only be more empathetic and to relate to other people, but it helps us to grow. And for me, I treat myself like a garden where I'm constantly tilling to the field and I'm pruning away and removing what doesn't work for me, what doesn't serve me, and ultimately the parts of me that have died off. And this is the only way that I can continue to grow and to continue to better myself and to become the best version of myself, which is always my goal. But the whole thing about that is if I'm constantly learning, constantly growing, it's all about the journey because if I'm constantly working on myself, constantly growing, there is no end goal. Because the day I give up, the weeds start coming back. The trees start overgrowing, the roots start strangling each other. And, my grandmother always believed, the day you stop working on yourself is the day that you die. And that's something she told me very young. And that's something that I still hold very near and dear to my heart. And that's something that I still practice to this day. For a long time, I neglected myself. I neglected what it is that I needed to do because I was scared to look at the garden. I was scared to look at the parts of myself that I didn't want to acknowledge because I didn't want to acknowledge my shortcomings and my failures. But then one day I had to realize if I never look at them, then I can never fix them. I can never make sure that I don't make the same mistakes again. Acknowledging perspective, being the best version of ourselves, acknowledging where other people are coming up from and how while we might not receive it that way, some people do want to be there for us and to be the best version of themselves for us, but they don't always know how. So it's important to remember that. And it's important to remember at the end of the day, we're all people. We're bound to make mistakes, we're bound to fall short, but it's our ability to recover and to be there for ourselves when we feel as though other people can't be. That's how we begin the work. That's how we begin to show up. And I think that's something that you have reminded me of today. So with that, I just want to say, Scotty G, thanks so much for coming on today. And now's the chance. Plug all your podcasts, anything you have coming up. This is your time.
Well, you can find everything that I do at heyjustbe.com, right? But if you're looking for me on social medias, like my personal social media is Hey Scotty G. The social media for all my coaching and stuff like that is at Hey Just Be, same as the website. And then the podcast on everything except for I think like TikTok because they're like weird. No, it was Twitter X. It's like weird. I don't whatever. Is Just Be with Scotty G and you can find that on all socials. But all that's also at heyjustbe.com. So you can go there and you can find that. So if you're looking for the podcast, you can find that there. If you're looking for coaching, I'm a personal coach and I have obviously a unique approach the way I kind of do things. So you can find that there. And then if you're looking for the other podcast I was talking about, it's called Mixtape Therapy. You can find it on, I think it's on YouTube, Amazon Music, iHeart, and Spotify or something like that. But I do that with my friend Hannah and we take pieces of media and we make our own mixtape, just like, back in the day, like you'd have like, like mixtapes as you make your girlfriend or basketball mixtapes or just any burn CDs, right? We're making a mixtape of media, of the things we take in through podcasting. So we make our own mixed media tapes about just things that we take in, things we find interesting. And it always sparks a great conversation. Hannah's the best. So yeah, that's where you can find all my stuff. And I just want to say, I'm always so grateful and appreciative to anybody that makes time for me. So thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it.
And it's been my pleasure. And, like I told you before we started, you came highly recommended, and James had nothing but positive things to say about you. And, again, you and I operate on very different energy levels very clearly, but it's something that I can genuinely appreciate. And I can tell that, everything you do comes from a place of sincerity and thoughtfulness. And it takes a level of emotional intelligence to be that vulnerable and to be, this open with who you are as a person. So, on behalf of myself and anyone who listens and or watches this, thank you for doing that, because it does take a lot, and it is, terrifying and exciting all at the same time.
Well, I mean, that's what the unknown is, right? Like, as much as we think we know about the future, we don't know diddly.
Mhm.
So, living closer to the unknown and trying to ride more of that wave is gonna be more exhilarating, and it's gonna be tougher, and you might crash, but you can't stop surfing. You gotta just or what is a dory? Just keep swimming. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know a lot about surfing, but I'll take your word on that one. So that brings a wrap to episode 20. Big thanks again to today's guest. Just be with Scottie G, the man himself, Scottie G. You know, this has been a blast. This has been some great reminders. And, I've been taking mental notes on things I can apply to my own life. And I hope that anyone who listens to and or watches this is able to do the same thing, because at the end of the day, we all have things in our lives that we might not be 100% happy with, but we always have the ability to change that no matter age or, where we are in life. There's always room for growth, and there's always room to start over, So with that, we're going to wrap today's episode. So from me, your host, Joe Buck, and from today's guest, Scottie G, there's three things we can leave you with. Be good to yourself, be good to the world around you. Remember, above all else, we love you, homie. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you. Thank you.